Hi, everyone, and welcome to Café IBTTA. I'm Pat Jones. My guest today is Rob Horr. Rob is Vice President, Project Director with Atkins, NA, a member of the SNC Lavalin Group. Rob provides clients with insights and solutions into the financial, operational, and logistical issues associated with toll facilities, based on his 23 years of experience and executive leadership in the toll industry. Before joining Atkins, Rob was executive director of the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority from January 2003 until his retirement in March of 2020. In that role, Rob was responsible for the development, management, and implementation of the annual operations and capital programs and general management and oversight of the day-to-day operations of the international toll bridge system and Boldt Castle, Hart Island, Boldt Yacht House tourist attractions. Rob served as president of IBTTA in 2013, and he was elected an honorary member of IBTTA in 2014. Rob, welcome to Café IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Pat. It's great to be here.
Well, I want to remind everybody this is Café IBTTA, where we talk about things that are interesting, relevant, uplifting, and fun. We drink coffee. I've got my IBTTA mug here. And I want to shout out to all the members for participating in the annual meeting last week, over the last week and a half. And if you didn't get a chance to see some of the sessions or you'd like to see them again, go to our website, click on events, and then click on past presentations, and you'll see an opportunity to log in to see most, if not all, of the sessions from the annual meeting. We had 1,148 people registered, and I think more than 1,000 people actually downloaded the app and participated in the events. So thanks to all of you for participating, to our sponsors and everybody who was involved in putting on that great event. Well, we are taking your questions and we'll do so throughout this chat. We encourage you to use the chat function on your screen and set it to all panelists and attendees. And we want to get you engaged early. So in your chat function, I want you to put in there right now, what are your thoughts or feelings about the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority or Thousand Islands dressing, for which the region is famous? Tell us now in the chat function. What are your feelings about the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority or Thousand Islands dressing? Okay, it's a mystery. I'm guessing that refers to the dressing, huh, Rob?
Maybe both.
Spectacular bridge, beautiful castle and area. I absolutely love the dressing. I like them both. Yeah, scenic landscape. Hey, my all-time favorite border crossing, not the dressing. Well managed. Both are awesome. Beautiful. Thumbs up to both. Great leadership. Only with croutons. Okay. I don't know if that's the bridge or the dressing. What do you think, Rob?
Definitely the dressing.
Definitely the dressing. All right. Awesome place to work. Well, we'll keep those comments coming in and we'll try to revisit them a little bit later in the program. Rob, let's talk about the Thousand Islands Bridge. You are only the third person to occupy the position of executive director of the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority. And of those three, all of you were elected president of IBTTA. Tell us a little bit about your time with the Thousand Islands Bridge. What was that like?
Well, it was an incredible opportunity to do something that was really totally out of my wheelhouse in my career. I'd spent much of my career doing sales and human resources. And so when this opportunity came up, I came in 1997, actually, and started out in operations and administration, and then deputy executive director, and then eventually executive director. And I just found it to be one of the most unique places I had ever worked. There was something different every year. And it fit my personality so well because I could bounce from thing to thing to thing. make a difference in all those areas, and be challenged every day. And I don't think there was one day during my career there that I ever felt it was a chore to go to work. Sure, there were good days and bad days, and like every place else, but it was incredible. Working for public authorities, it's the social good works that authorities provide, the transportation authorities provide, not only to our customers, but to the public in general. So what's so unique about Thousand Islands? Well, it's a binational environment. The authority itself is led by an international board of directors. We have employees from both sides of the country. We have facilities on both sides of the border. So that presented itself a unique opportunity. The Thousand Islands Bridge, though, the authority is a very mature organization. It started in 1933 with a goal of building long span bridges across the St. Lawrence River, connecting New York State and the province of Ontario. And a lot of things happened prior to the bridge actually being built and opened in 1938. And President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Mackenzie King opened the bridge in 38. And what was interesting about the time, and I'm a little bit of a student of history of it, is that the day before, President Roosevelt had given a speech at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, in which it was the first time he declared America was going to break out of isolationism and come to the rescue of Great Britain, Canada, and the Allies before they were known as the Allies. So it was the first time that was done. And then the very next day, he opened the bridge. And then, in the environment of the day, it was the Great Depression. Certainly it was a works program, but it was not financed by government. It was done through general revenue bonds, which they continue to do today, as most toll authorities do. World War II came along. Interesting time for the bridge. Obviously, traffic way down, similar to what they're seeing today. Some interesting stories from some of the folks that were just retiring out when I came to the bridge about the World War II years of turning the lights off on the bridge at night, so it wasn't a target, covering all the windows so that no light could be emitted at night. That was really interesting. And then the interstates came along, and then the 4-lane highways in Canada, which really upped the game for the Bridge Authority and the amount of traffic that they received. It literally doubled overnight. And then came along NAFTA, the free trade agreement between Mexico and the US and Canada and the US, which doubled our truck traffic literally almost overnight. So we became a very sleepy crossing to a very busy crossing very, very quickly in that time frame. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, and being on the international border, everything changed there. So, I kind of look at my career in terms of things that happened at the bridge over the 82 years it's been around, and everything that changed as a result of 9/11. And then COVID, what a game changer that is. And, just to give a shout out to Tim Sturck, the current executive director, and all the staff there, they're doing a tremendous job. Their revenues are way down. The border's still closed. No imminent decision on when it's going to reopen. So fortunately, they have some commercial traffic that's keeping them going, but it's tough times. And, if you look back at the timeline, the bridge has withstood that from the Great Depression to the World War II years. So Tim, hang in there. It's going to get better. That's kind of how I see the bridge and the history of the bridge. We did so many projects in my 23 years: redecking, new border inspection facilities,
right.
had an active role in as a result of 9/11, new border facilities, redeckings of all the long span bridges, and then migrating our toll systems to Easy Pass. That was huge for us. That proved out to be a really good experience. I'm sure they're still living through some of it because it happened right at the end of my career, but they're working through that. So Boldt Castle, I want to get to that really quickly.
Before you get to Boldt Castle,
Sure.
I just want to make an observation. It's interesting that you should mention FDR and his connection with the bridge, and about the time of throwing his support for the Allies and the British. And I just happen to be reading right now a book titled The Splendid and the Vile by Eric Larson. And it's all about the first year of Churchill's serving as prime minister from May of 1940 to May of 1941, and how during that time, where the British are being bombarded by the German Luftwaffe, Churchill is courting America and FDR. And I just finished several chapters in which they talked about how FDR sent Harry Hopkins as his emissary to visit with Winston Churchill and really try to solidify that relationship. So it's a fascinating story that I highly recommend. And you're mentioning FDR made me think of that. So
Right.
Let's return to Boldt Castle.
Okay. Well, one more thing on FDR you made me think about. A couple of years later, they met again in Ogdensburg, New York, which is about 30 miles downriver from Thousand Islands. And they signed an agreement there. It's still called the Ogdensburg Agreement and still in place, that formed NORAD to shield North America from any aggressor. So there's a lot of history there. And remember, FDR was governor of New York, any term governor. So
Right.
He had a connection as well to New York. Anyway, Boldt Castle. Boldt Castle was the gift that we keep giving, or I kept giving, and my predecessors. It's started out as a derelict castle that was built in the late 1800s as a summer home for George Boldt, who was a wealthy hotelier from New York, and a very famous hotelier that brought Waldorf and Astor together to build the Waldorf Astoria, and he was the proprietor. And back then, when you were a proprietor, you were actually part owner, but you had to work. And obviously, Astor and Waldorf didn't. But he passed away before it was finished. It was supposed to be a gift to his wife on Valentine's Day. The island that the castle is on, and it's on a 5-acre island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, is called Hart Island, H-E-R-T, H-E-R-T, E-A-R-T, sorry. And
like the organ in your body, that heart.
Yeah, that one. And he had the island reshaped into the form of a heart. So the heart theme is entirely through the castle. And unfortunately, she passed away before it was finished. So they say he never stepped foot on the island again. And so it laid derelict until 1977. And then the authority was gifted it to begin long-term rehabilitation. And so we've been doing that since 1977 and continue today. And it's become the premier tourist attraction in the region, largest by far. At our peak, it was the 10th most visited historic home in the United States, which is quite a feat, considering that it's only open 6 months a year and you have to get there by boat. And going up against the Biltmore and Mount Vernon and some of the other treasures in the country. We did a lot of projects. I always approached them with a very different hat that I had at the bridge. I called it my Disney hat because I had to think that it's a tourist attraction. It's not a border facility. It's not a toll bridge. So you have to kind of think, how does a tourist attraction evolve over time? And I guess having gone to Disney and all the others with my own children over the years, I saw that tourist attractions had to evolve. They had to change. And so we went into it with that mindset that we would do something new every single year. And we did. What happened was the actual rehabilitation efforts took on a life of their own. And actually the last survey I saw was about 50% of the visitation, just to see what we've done next. So there were a lot of fun moments doing that. One that kind of stuck out to me was the Italian garden. We were looking for some statues, life-size statues, and of Italian vintage. So we started looking around, and it's like, where do you find statues like that without having them custom made? So my wife and I were sitting at home and just looking on the computer, and there and behold, someplace in North Carolina actually made them. So then we wrestled with the fact we're a family attraction. How do we keep our statues fully clothed? So that's a challenge when you're dealing with Italian statues, and I throw that shout out to George Zalachi. George is usually fully clothed, which is a good thing. But we were able to find some that represent the 4 seasons of the year, and they really turned out nice. And in fact, you can buy Christmas ornaments that are even like that now. So that's a shout out for the gift shop.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're probably one of the only toll operators in North America that owns or operates, what is it, one of the 10 most visited tourist destination homes in the
historic
country?
home. Historic homes.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Rob, you were elected president of IBTTA to serve in 2013, a very, in some ways, tumultuous time, but an important time for the industry. And you led the association under the theme of the Moving America Forward, which was the beginning of our public awareness campaign, where we really tried to step out of the box and not be on the sidelines and really promote the tolling industry to the media and to public officials. Talk a little bit about your presidency in 2013.
Well, you're right. It was a little bit of a tumultuous time. We'd gone through several iterations of strategic plans and things over the years the board had. And then when, I rose up through the executive committee and to become president, there was a lot of talk about building our awareness. So we were, and you, to your credit, hired Bill Kramer to come join IBTTA, and he added a lot of energy to this movement. And really what we did and what you've done is rebrand the association. The association is much more relevant to what's going on today. We changed the logo. I remember the days of talking about changing the association name, which was like the third rail in a board meeting. It would just blow up a board meeting if you brought that up. So we rebranded the association to what you see today. The campaign really, as it began, was to educate and inform elected officials at all levels, the media and general public about tolling and the nation's transportation infrastructure crisis. And it's only got stronger and stronger over the years since 2013. And I was very fortunate to have the ability to have input on that and watch it grow 7 years later. I'm very proud of that and very proud of the association, to be honest with you. And certainly your leadership, Pat, has made that grow, and Bill and all the staff, really. But and it's exciting for me to see the new leaders have embraced that. And the association, I think, is in a really good place right now.
Thank you, Rob. Well, we are taking your questions. Please put your questions in the chat function. It doesn't have to be about Thousand Islands dressing or anything like that. We want to hear your questions. And we do have a question from Sharon Adair, and she asks, how did managing the various facilities of the authority assist with the various facets of IBTTA? Interesting question.
Yeah, interesting question. Thank you, Sharon. Well, actually, I think the campaign itself had a lot to do with, I could draw on my experience from Boldt Castle and the bridge, because Thousand Islands Bridge is somewhat unknown. I think originally it was probably called the Bridge to Nowhere. And Thousand Islands is a place, but it's not officially a zip code. And so it's not a city on either side. So it had a bit of an identity crisis. And so we were trying to raise the awareness of the bridge during those years, and certainly did, as well as Boldt Castle. So I think it was a good fit with IBTTA. It seemed to, was kind of natural for me to do that. So I think it worked well.
Rob, you implemented a practice for yourself when you attended IBTTA meetings. I call it the Rob Horr Challenge, and it's sort of a reflective process by which you integrate the knowledge you gain from IBTTA meetings into your Thousand Islands Bridge life. Talk to us about that.
Right. Well, and it actually carrying on into my Atkins life as well. When I attended a meeting, regardless of what it was, whether it was the annual meeting or maintenance or administration operations, it didn't matter, even a board meeting, you always come away with a few bullet points that seem to really resonate with the authority, or could resonate with the authority. So when I got back, it was my ritual to go in my office. I never scheduled any appointments the first day back. Certainly people would come in and see me, but and go through those notes and then try to integrate them in any future plans that we had. And, it really paid off for us in so many different ways, particularly as we were looking towards electronic tolling and those kinds of things. We were able to walk through that process much easier than if we'd not planned for it, and the knowledge that I was able to obtain and use it. To me, it's kind of no different in my role in the membership committee. There's a nugget out there for everybody. If you're willing to pick it up, take a look at it. If it's not applicable, throw it aside. If it is, implement it if you can. There's some really good stuff out there.
Rob, speaking of the membership committee, you've been chair of IBTTA's membership committee since 2016, a good period of time, and you've seen some evolution in our membership. Mark Muriello from the Port Authority has a question. What do you see as the communications challenges in attracting new IBTTA members?
That's a good question. Well, I think it's we've, as a group, have tried to bring together all the things that bring value to members. We call it the value proposition, and we measure that against surveys. We measure it with feedback from existing members and even potential new members, whether they see value in the membership. And so always presenting that value proposition is so important. And Angela does that every time she talks to a prospective member, and I know you do it, and Wanda and all the rest of the staff. That is so important, because if you don't find value in it, you're probably not going to do it. And we have expanded, particularly this year since COVID, so much deeper into the not only the vendors and the consultants, but also the agencies. As you've said, you're seeing people you've never seen before. And to me, that says that we're spreading the message deeper into organizations of that value. And, I can remember the first annual meeting I went to, they were all board members and executive directors. Not anymore, not this year. It went pretty deep. So I think, showing that value is so important, and making sure and testing it that it still resonates with our members and potential members.
Rob, in addition to your background in history in sales and human resources, and then more recently in leadership of the tolling industry, you're also a sailor. You like to get on sailing boats, and I had the pleasure of sailing one fine day in the summer with you and your 3 sons. Tell us about sailing. What metaphors are there? What life lessons are there from your sailing experience?
Well, the interesting thing about sailing is, and I've done it so long, it's not something I learned 2 years ago. I grew up on a sailboat with my parents, and we spent summer vacations pretty much on the sailboat, living on the sailboat. And so you learn so many lessons from that of living in a small space. And we see the HGTV shows about the tiny homes and so forth. Well, a boat is really that, and whether it's a motorboat or a sailboat, and it really forces you to not only get along together, but you also have to work together. And it's a lot of teamwork in sailing. It can be done alone, but it's certainly not as much fun. But sailing does give you the long view of what you're doing. And what I mean by that is sailing is not about getting to the destination or the point where you're going. It's about how you get there. So it's about planning. It's about keeping track of the wind, about boat traffic, about all kinds of things. And it's just interesting that, when you absorb that at a young age, it carries through your entire life. And that's, I use that in my career. I take the long view of just about everything. And at some point when you're in charge of something, whether it was the bridge or you're the skipper of a sailboat or whatever, you've got to delegate. And I know over the years, Pat, you've called me the great delegator. And you've told me that over and over. And you know what? I think that's a positive in so many ways, that you can delegate, allow people to grow, but also fail. That's equally important. So it's taught me a lot, sailing has, and it's about reconnecting with nature in a lot of ways, living your life on the wind and the seas, and you go where they send you. So there's a lot of fun in that.
Rob, you're talking about sailing and the need to work together, being in a confined space, taking the long view, makes me think about the Leadership Academy. And you served as the second chancellor of the Leadership Academy and also have been a faculty member numerous times. Talk to me about your experience with the Leadership Academy and why you think it's so important.
Well, I think we all realized, at least people of my generation within IBTTA attending meetings, you could see us all getting older and not a lot of younger people coming in the room. So the Leadership Academy was developed to nurture younger people to get involved in the toll industry and more in the industry. And I think it's had paid huge benefits. I think it's over 400 now, maybe it's more. I've kind of lost track. Have gone through that. But the experience I had, I got to meet so many amazing people that were going through the academy of all ages, and get to understand what they were thinking about, what the challenges were in their jobs, what they were looking towards the future at. And I think today, well, I know it is today, that a Leadership Academy graduate on a resume is important in the tolling industry. If you want to stay in the tolling industry and you have that takes a second look at a resume very quickly.
Rob, I'm just going to pause for a minute while we make a couple of announcements. We will be back here next week, next Wednesday, same time with Café IBTTA and a guest yet to be revealed. We'll reveal it very shortly. October 5th, Employee Recruitment and Retention Strategies. The Women in Tolling Council is having their monthly meetup from 11 to 12:15 p.m. On October 6th, the General Data Protection Regulation, the International Committee, is putting on a webinar at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. On October 13th, the Convergence of Innovation and CASE, help me out here, Rob. Connected, automated, shared, and electric vehicles. There we go. Okay. Their program is on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on October 13th. And if you have, if you're toll operators and you have RFPs, we encourage you to send them to us. We have we're populating IBTTA's online procurement calendar. So there's our wrap up of upcoming events. Rob, what final words of wisdom do you have for the members of IBTTA?
Well, you're all part of an incredible industry, and you've heard it before, many of you. It is a huge family, and get involved. I guarantee you'll meet friends that you'll have for life, and you'll do some really, really important work for the constituents and general public of in transportation.
Rob, thanks so much for being with us today on Café IBTTA, for your leadership and your friendship. And to all the members of IBTTA, be safe, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.